right, guys, welcome back to Construction Business TV in the East Idaho area. My name is Tyson. I'm your local journalist and videographer for Construction Business TV, Idaho Falls. This is episode 2 of the Idaho Falls Auditorium District series. We named it something along that effect, the Idaho Falls Auditorium series. Episode 2, where I am joined here with Rob Spear, the Executive Director for the Idaho Falls Auditorium District. How are you today, Rob?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I will say, first of all, that if you have not had the opportunity today to spend some time outside and just enjoy the weather, then I would consider it a wasted day, because it is an excellent day today.
Perfect. Tyson, I couldn't agree more with you. It's a beautiful day in Idaho Falls, and hopefully maybe early this evening I'll get the opportunity to take advantage of it.
I sure hope so. So for everybody who's maybe watching this for the first time, like I said, this is episode 2. Episode 1 we did a month ago, and this will be a month-to-month occurrence around the beginning of the month. We were a little bit late in the month this month, but tentatively around, I would say, the first week of the month, on the month until the opening of the Mount America Events Center, which, as I understand, is slated for about end of October of next year. Is that right?
Right. Hopefully we're going to be able to meet that schedule. And as we get in talking about progress, we'll talk about some of the challenges that we're facing at the moment, but hopefully that we can make up some lost ground.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a couple of good stories to tell us over what's gone on over the last 30 days. So my first question, that I put together a couple of questions, and we can kind of move the conversation as organically as it needs to go. But I think a good first question, just kind of a question about you personally, is what is the category of event that this facility is going to provide that you are most looking forward to seeing at the Mount America Events Center?
Well, that's a good question and a tough question, because I could certainly see the diversity from an event standpoint that this center is going to bring to the area. I'm certainly excited to have the hockey be the anchor tenant, and I think event centers is really important to have an anchor tenant. And I think as I look forward, obviously bringing in some of those family shows, I'm excited for that, but probably more excited to really serve the youth in the community. And that is going to be through hockey tournaments and youth hockey, skating and playing, but also with court sports, volleyball, basketball, providing this community the opportunity to host state tournaments. As people know, it's really difficult. We don't have an event center the size that is required to host a tournament. All these tournaments are going to Boise right now. And so we're very optimistic that we're going to be able to attract some high school state type tournaments here in the future and really, reward the local kids that work hard and play and be able to play in their backyard rather than having to go to Boise every year.
Okay, so you mentioned basketball stuck out to me. Are there going to be basketball courts built into this facility?
Well, portable courts. You'll be able to take what we call FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment items that we will procure here as we get closer to being able to open up this center. But yes, it is going to have a basketball court dedicated to the facility.
Okay, that's exciting. Okay, my next question, kind of a general question, we can dig into it. What type of progress have we seen on the building since we last spoke last month?
Tyson, what I think the best thing to do is if you'll allow me to share a screen here, and just we are very fortunate to have drone flyovers weekly. And what I would like to do is just show the latest drone flyover that was done last Friday. And we can pause it and talk about the certain things that are happening in the event center, because as we talked offline, people will drive by we broke ground in May. And people are driving by and say, well, we don't see a lot going on out there. We see some materials laying around, but really, in fact, there's a lot that's gone on. So, Tyson, if you allow me to share my screen, we'll get right to the video.
If these people stood just a little bit taller, they would see some things going on, right?
See that now?
Yep, I see it perfect.
Perfect. So a lot going on here, a lot to talk about. I think in the center part of this video, you can see the actual outline of the hockey rink. You can see the footings that have been poured and all of the kind of the structural beams that will attach to the fieldings and help with that steel erection. And then along the outer side of it is kind of an interesting concept here. You see these slabs, and these slabs are called rat slabs. These slabs were poured with the sole intention of being able to provide a platform or a base to do a tilt-up panel. So this facility is going to be constructed using tilt-up panels. And you can see here towards the right-hand side, we'll walk through this, let the drone do its work, and I'll pause it here. You can see on the right-hand side, you can see the actual forms. In this particular case, brick liners are already down. So what happens in this process, you put brick liners down, then you have the thin brick, and the thin brick is snapped into place, and then you come back after the fact and you actually pour some mortar over the top that actually becomes your joints for your bricks and in your concrete. And then they'll put the required insulation mesh down and then finish it off with about an 8-inch concrete pour. And so what you see here on the right-hand side here, these are really 21 different walls that are ready to go. And we were just waiting to get the right mixture of concrete for the mortar joints. They did a prototype test run a week ago. It was a little off. And so once they get that, they're going to start pouring all of these 1 through 21 walls, and then put your insulation in, another pour of concrete, let it cure for 7 days, and then you're going to all of a sudden start seeing walls stood up, which will be kind of a neat thing because all of a sudden you're going to see a real building starting to take place here. So on this back end here, I mentioned these slabs. This back left corner that you're looking at here is where the event center, or the conference space is going to be. So you can see the slab there is poured for the conference space. You can see some slabs they were working on last week to pour here. That's part of the back, what they call back of the house, where we'll have our storage. We store all of the equipment that's going to be required for the event center. And so the slab here is really doing two things. One, it's going to be the actual floor for the convention space and really provide the foundation for the tilt-up panels. So this project process is now moving along. Now we did have, as you will understand, with supply chain issues across this country, they've been difficult. Whether you're in your automobile sector with the various chip problems, our board did an excellent job of getting out in front of some large material orders. We pre-ordered steel, we pre-ordered concrete, and so we got ahead of that curve. The one thing that surprised us is brick. So we had a little delay on brick, about an 8-week delay, but we're hopeful that our steel erector and tilt-up panel contractor can work together. I know our tilt-up panel contractor is going to bring in about 5 or 6 cranes here and really start tilting these panels up once they're cured. So we think forming the walls is going to go fairly smoothly now. We have all the materials on site. We have all the steel on site for the steel erection. We have all the decking on site for put the roof on the facility, with the sole intent of getting this thing dried in for winter. Now, whether or not we will make that, we don't know. We know we're at the mercy of weather. And as I mentioned earlier, we need moisture. We do need significant moisture. I just hope it holds out until maybe the middle of January so we can get this dried in and we can work through the winter. Now, if that's not a possibility, this back of the house area here that you're seeing, we'll get a little closer to it. We'll be able to certainly get that part dried in, and they'll be able to work through the winter. So we're optimistic that we're going to be able to meet that opening date. But again, a lot of it's weather dependent, and we'll see how efficient we can be when we start doing the tilt-up panel and the steel erection. So again, a great little video. It shows you the great proximity to I-15 here. So it's going to have great visibility, and we're excited here for this next phase. So any questions? I'm going to stop sharing, Tyson, and see if you have any questions there and get your thoughts on that little drone video.
So you moved here a couple of years ago, is that right?
Correct.
So you've been here long enough to know what Idaho winters can be like.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Montana native, so I'm I lived in Idaho really for the last 32 years. So I understand harsh winters. But I will admit, the wind coupled with some significant snow that first winter I was here was a interesting welcome to me, or a reminder of just what real winter is like.
Mm-hmm. So one question that came to mind as I'm watching all of this and watching and listening to your what you're hoping to achieve and like what setbacks you've had, what forward progress you've had, and it made me wonder, because when I, as a video content creator, when I put together a project and I put together a tentative deadline, I'm usually pretty generous. I don't know if generous is the word, liberal with my deadline, because I put a deadline on kind of factoring in knowing that things are going to happen that I am not expecting. Drawbacks are going to happen. Something's going to go wrong with my computer or corrupted film. I factor that into the deadline, so I'm planning on things going wrong basically, and I wonder if you have that same kind of terminology or mentality methodology when you put together this deadline for October of next year. Did you do so? Was that a very tight deadline, or did you put that in anticipating you were going to be having setbacks along the way?
I certainly didn't come up with that construction schedule or contractor Bateman Hall. I think they put together a fairly tight schedule, but at the same time, the benefit of working with such an experienced group like Bateman Hall is they have experience in this type of thing. So they've experienced delays before. And I do think that there's some flex in this schedule, and it really is going to be dependent about, how efficient we can be and how much the weather cooperates here in September, October, November, especially. If we can get some decent days in there, we know there's going to be some days we won't be able to work. But I think, again, having that experienced group and allowing them to put together a schedule, they've certainly identified areas where they could foresee some problems. And I do think that they have in their back pocket some ways that they can catch up the schedule as well.
This definitely wasn't their first rodeo, I'm sure. Bateman, I'm sorry, you got to remind me the name of the contractor. Bateman Hall.
And they partnered with Hogan Construction. So we actually have two large construction firms handling this project. So I feel that we're in good hands.
Do you feel, for the purpose of, making sure that they have their due recognition, does anything come to mind over the last 30 days that you've seen accomplished that you would love to give them appreciation or recognition for?
I think you always fall back on what's the most recent event that happened, and was really impressed with the strategy and methodology they used to do the review of tilt-up panel. So they actually formed a tilt-up panel and actually stood it up, and everybody was able to go and review it, and it was kind of a neat thing. And so, Tyson, I'm going to probably see if I can quickly call a picture up, and we'll take a look at what I'm talking about that was done last Friday. So
that helps me to visualize, because you were saying tilt-up panels. I wasn't really sure what to think of.
You can see this is a mock-up, a prototype, and it has all the 3 different brick colors that are going to be involved in the project. And then of course your exposed concrete, looks a little different because it's wet. You can see the gentleman to the left there with the sprayer in hand. The one thing that these tilt-up panels, when you do them, the brick are waxed, and so they have really a wax coating on them. And the purpose of that wax coating is so when they're stood up, you peel off the brick liner. And so that brick liner, you can see to the right there corner, you can see, there's some of the thin brick being placed in that liner. So the question you asked is, what have I seen from the group? Well, what I seen was attention to detail, making sure that this process was going to be absolutely right before they did it for real. And they're going to go back and probably pour one more of these prototypes and make sure they get the concrete mixture right, and then move forward with the whole project. So the one thing that really impressed me is, you look at, as quality control on a construction project is really critical. And I think this is another step in the quality control process. So this is exactly, obviously those walls are going to be a lot bigger, but this gives you a little bit more detail about what's happening here and what those tilt-up panels are really going to look at when they're stood up. So
I imagine I'm looking at the inside walls. That looked like an inside wall to me.
An inside wall. And so what I can probably show you is give you an example of when we talked about the insulation inside of it. Let's take another look here at a panel from the side view. And so here is the prototype. Hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
You can see the, obviously the front end as well. I just showed you with the brick inset. And so here's a side view. You can see all the foam in the middle of it that's going to provide the insulation. The only thing different here between this prototype and what you're going to see in reality is this back pour. So just for efficiency purposes, they only poured about 3 or 4 inches of concrete, but there'll be another 8 inches of concrete on top of this. So this, in real life, this panel is going to be significantly thicker and weigh a considerable amount. And you can see on the background there, those are the styrofoam panels. And so there's a kind of another view, kind of just shows you that the building's going to be well insulated. And so questions on that, Tyson?
I'm just thinking a lot of ingredients are going into just building a wall.
It is a process, and it's one that involves not only the concrete people, having the right people to make sure the brick liners is another piece of the project, and making sure when the liners go down, and making sure there's a quality control piece when people are going through and looking at the brick liners. Let me see if I can find another quick picture of a liner a little closer.
And these pictures are all being taken on the construction site.
Hopefully you can see the brick liner on the ground.
Yeah.
You see that picture there? So this is really, this is probably, you can start counting wherever there's a separation is a wall. So you can see a significant number of brick in these 2 panels, and then you can see the openings in this one over here with different brick. Back here is a door opening. So one of the things that will happen with that last pour of concrete will be what they call embeds. These are really fasteners that go in to secure the walls to the steel columns that will be put in place. So there's quite a bit of work that's going to happen here in the next month or so. And I'm really excited for that, because I think it's really going to be a cool thing if somebody's traveling up and down I-15 and going to Pocatello or coming to Idaho Falls. One day you're going to drive by there, look over there, and you won't see a lot. And then the next day you're going to come by, and all of a sudden you're going to see a bunch of walls standing up. So I really think once we get to that part of this project, it's really going to create some excitement in the community, because you simply won't be able to miss the progress happening from then on.
It'll stick out. It'll be very prominent. Sounds like it's so here within the next 30 days is when we're going to start seeing a major growth spurt. I mean, major vertical upgoing.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
I'm excited. Now I'm wanting to do one of these. I was just thinking of this as I'm looking at these pictures. I'm thinking I almost want to do one of these monthly deals on site. That would be fun to do.
I think we should look at that. I think it would be fun, and we can probably even expand this a little bit. And I think people will get tired of hearing from me, especially you. But it would certainly be nice to have, a representative from Bateman Hall, and maybe have the project superintendent talk a little bit about, what the role is in their job out there, and provide a little bit more detail, more detail than I'm able to provide. So I think that's a good suggestion.
So for the sake of audience participation, for people viewing this video right now, for those of you who just heard the suggestion, if you want to see that, let me know in the comments below the video, and we can just gauge the community interest in having that done. But I think that'd be an awesome idea. I think, is there any other information that you would want the public to know at this stage of the development of this facility?
Well, again, and I'll probably touch on this really every episode we have. I mean, there's great opportunity for people to get involved in this project, and we really want this to be. So we want to be able to provide the ability for people to get involved, and I think it's going to be really neat if you wanted to buy a seat and get your name on a seat, and that name will be on in perpetuity. Doesn't mean that you have to sit in that seat every time, but when people come into the arena, they could be sitting in my seat or your seat. The price point for those, it's not bad. It's $750 a seat to get your name on the seat. If that's a little too spendy, there's the opportunity to have a brick in the plaza area that, for $250 to put a brick, put your name on the brick. So there's some other ways for the public to get involved, but again, we want this to be a community event center and have everybody that's capable and has the ability to provide and has the resources available to provide and buy a seat or a brick. Hey, let's get you signed up. I'm happy to visit with you.
You mentioned that, like jokingly, you mentioned that they don't have to sit in that seat every time, but in my head I'm thinking if the seat is good, I would like to buy a good seat, and have that seat reserved for every event.
Yeah, and it's, now's a great time. I mean, there's a lot of things happening right now. Matter of fact, in maybe one of these sessions, Tyson, we can focus on, some of the things that are happening, decision-making that the board is going to make. We just got really what we say a seating manifest for the inside of the facility for a concert and for hockey. So you can actually look at it. You can zoom in. You can see exactly where the premium seats are going to be, the suites, the loge boxes, some of the club seats. We can zoom in on that. We can talk about what seat's going to go in there. I can show you. I have the actual seats that are going in the facility in the office here that the company sent to us to look at and evaluate. So we also are very excited for next board meeting that's happening this Tuesday. So our board meetings are the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month at 7 a.m. The public's welcome to attend. This Tuesday at 7 a.m. we're going to bring in our architect group, CRSA, and they're going to provide a overview of the color scheme that's going on the inside of the facility. So the board's going to be able to see, what the carpet color is going to be, what the tile color is going to be, how everything's going to flow, what the wall coloring is going to be. And it also gives the board a unique opportunity as the owner of this facility to provide some input into. So a lot going on, but certainly a facility like this, it's more than just the footings and the concrete and the floor and the hockey rink and the walls. It's the seating, and then of course, the inside of the facility, and make, one thing this facility is going to have is adequate concession space to be able to take care of a good number of people. So a lot of different things that we can focus on in the future for sure.
Okay, so what I think would be cool to include, I can include this in the description below the video if you have this stuff that you can provide. You mentioned there's opportunities for the community to get involved through things such as purchasing a brick or purchasing a seat. I'm sure maybe there's some other opportunities as well. And I'm wondering how they can get more information on how to do that if it's something they're interested in. Is there a website?
So there you go. You should see our website with the beautiful building on the outside here, the rendering. And so you can go up and you can see this button here. It says donate now. Click on that. There you go. You can sponsor a seat, a bowl seat, or a plaza brick, and there you go. You can easily go in here and sign up yourself. That's very simple, very easy to do online. So this is an easy way to get involved. And of course, if you want to talk to me directly and you want more confirmation, I can certainly take your order over a phone. I'm happy to meet with individuals. If you want to come into the office here, we could sit down and talk about where you want to have your seat within this facility. So this here is the easiest way to do it, I think. Front page, you can simply click on documents, go to minutes. You can scroll down here and you can really go through and click on the meeting minutes. You can go through, we'll open that file up. So just click on that and you can go right to the meeting minutes and it can show you what the agenda items were and what the board discussed. So again, we're a political subdivision of the state and all of our things are open. And so it's a great way for people to, if you're interested, to look at what's being discussed and stay abreast of what's happening with the event center.
Excellent. So again, that's an excellent resource for people to learn more about the event center. And as I mentioned near the beginning of the video, if there are any questions that the community has that they would love that question forwarded to you personally, that they can mention those questions in the comment section of the video, and I can include that on my agenda for future videos that we do month to month. I think I thought so. I think a good question to leave off on, kind of going back to, because I began these questions with kind of like a personal question, like what event are you personally looking forward to? I want to end this conversation with the personal question as well. As of today, as at the stage of the production or at the stage of construction and development today, how are you personally feeling to be seeing this vision come to fruition?
It feels great to see the progress. And like I said several times, I wish that you could actually go out on a daily basis and see how much is being accomplished. But when the walls start to go up, you're really going to see some progress. But it's really fulfilling to me because the community's waited so long for this. And to be able to see it finally happening and being able to have a facility that's going to be able to deliver different entertainment needs to this community that's going to continue to grow is important. And so every day it feels great to see progress made, and every day it's a day closer to opening.
I can imagine that other members of your board who have been here since day one, since, what was it, 2011 is when this was passed. I can only imagine what they're feeling right now.
Well, there's been as I mentioned, when we had our groundbreaking, there were so many people involved, that deserve credit, past board members. And, I look back and I'm not sure, I'm pretty confident there is not one board member today that was part of the original board.
Okay.
But one of our longstanding board members is our chair, Terry Gazdick, and Terry has been a champion of this project and she has stuck with it. And so for her to see this thing finally become a reality is another way for me to appreciate how much this means for the community.